it may or may not be relevant.
Is brand awareness. So one, if the customer doesn't know you exist, how can they buy from you? So it's
Patric Ronnie.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Marketing Mondays 97. So
We're getting close. We're getting close.
Yes, indeed. We hope let me get this to our regular screen. Sorry, getting a little closer for you. I hope everybody had a good day. You guys still have full vision? You didn't stare into the sun. At least I know for you. I'll show you in a second. Like I had, it felt like a dark cloud that kind of went by with the eclipse. And you and Matthew, both that works with us, had a little bit better experience with the eclipse today.
We actually had, I've never been, been like in the area where you could see so this was my first time, and we were like literally in the band of totality. So it was pretty crazy. That was a picture that a friend of mine took right from the parking area outside of our office today. And it's like literally, he didn't have any special camera or anything like that. He just played around with the aperture settings, but that's exactly how it looked with your naked eye. I mean, because you couldn't really capture it with like an iPhone or anything like that. But he had a camera and he played around with the aperture settings. But like what you're looking at right there from where we were parked is like that's exactly what it looked like with your naked eye. It's pretty crazy. I've never seen anything like that.
This one's a good one from Matthew. I was impressed by this. It was like, that's a cool little ring of fire.
Yeah, no, I think that it's crazy because even the couple minutes before it goes totality, it's still fairly light out, even though there's just a sliver of sun slipping past the moon. And then all of a sudden it gets really like it's a different type of sky than I've ever really seen before. And then boom, like within 30 seconds, it goes black. Like where we were at, it looked like nighttime. I mean, it looked like it was night. I mean, insects were coming out, like hawks were flying overhead. It was like, it looked like everything was turning to night. And then you had about 3 minutes of literally being able to just stare straight at the sun and see what you showed in that first picture. Again, it was pretty crazy. I couldn't capture it on my cell phone. I tried, but it just didn't have the ability to really do it justice. But fortunately, my friend had his camera, and we had enough time for him to play around with the settings to actually capture it somewhat similar. And if you look at that picture, you could actually see a little solar flare at the very bottom.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy.
Very cool. Very cool.
So,
well, that's our lunar solar eclipse talk for the next 15 years. I didn't look up when the next one is, so who knows. But I did kind of want to throw out there kind of once in a blue moon kind of things that happen. And I think for marketing, it's kind of tricky to figure out like what exactly is something that's hardly happens. But I think for me, the one that kind of jumped out that kind of caused a whole revelation of different things was the 1984 Apple Ridley Scott produced, directed Super Bowl commercial that kind of changed the way we view commercials during the Super Bowl. It's now like an event. Like people will watch probably the commercials. If they're not in the sports, they're more excited to kind of see what funny new ones that kind of come out. And so now there's this kind of thought process of thinking like, let's throw a whole bunch of money. Let's throw 7 million or whatever it might be for 30 seconds of ad space to get in front of so many different people. And so it's kind of thinking like, how important is ad placement, whether it's on social media, radio, newspaper, print, and magazines. There's so many different places to kind of put your ad for the different reasons that might be best for your company. And I wanted to take what your thoughts were as far as kind of how Super Bowl ads affect different marketing schemes, but also for a smaller business, what are different ways to do ad placement that might be different or unusual?
Well, a couple different things. I think, anytime you're running an ad, whether it's on social media, whether it's a Super Bowl ad and everything in between, or even like a Valpak flyer or anything that you do that would be marketing, the name of the game is to get it in front of as many eyeballs as you possibly can. The name of my business, when we started the business, the name of the business, iMagnet Management, is based on the idea that, we want to put a client's content and or product in front of eyes and magnetize them or attract them to the ad. So, where the Super Bowl makes the most sense is the fact that, for a national brand or a global brand, you just get your brand and your product in front of so many people in a way that people are being attentive to. Here's the difference. Like at night when you're watching TV, watching the news, watching your favorite show, a lot of times, especially now with DVR, somebody might just fast forward right through the commercial or use that as a time to go out and grab something to eat or something like that. The Super Bowl is the one time of the year where people actually make a point to watch every ad because they know they're going to be funny, whatever the case may be. That is the one time of the year where people actually like engage with and actually look forward to seeing ads. I can't think of any other time where that's the case. So with the Super Bowl, having something like that Apple ad that you mentioned, the reason why I think it resonated and worked so well is because the sheer number of people that saw that ad. And then the other thing that happens with the Super Bowl is if you have a really good ad that really grabs attention, it goes viral because people tend to share it to people that didn't see it the day before or whatever. So if you break that down to normal people's advertising, because most of us don't have the ability to run a Super Bowl ad, I think the thing you have to think about, though, is what in your world or what in your situation potentially is the Super Bowl of your marketing year? What event in your hometown? What, type of, advertisement? What is going on in your hometown where you potentially can have, like, you can sort of recreate a little bit of that? Like, if your town's high school football team went to the state championship and that's a big deal in your town, maybe there's some way you could dovetail some marketing into that by supporting the team and also having some marketing. My point is, most of us can't run a Super Bowl ad, but if you think about it, like, what events that are happening in my community and in my world could I use that people will be paying attention to? That's, I think, the big thing.
No, that's a great one. I think as soon as you said that, I think there are a lot of different cities might have like their yearly festivals where you could somehow have an event or kind of showcase or do something. Shout out to the Fridley 49er Day parade and stuff like that. Every different place kind of has their own. I know Princeton, Illinois, like Harvest Days. So there's different things that kind of, like you said, in the local community or kind of will bring people to an event or that can get eyes to it. And you can usually get booths or kind of, even if you don't have a booth, you can just go there and kind of maybe set up something a block away and set something up where you can showcase what you're doing. I think is always, as long as you're cool with the neighbors or whatever property that's there.
And I think that you have to think about too, like, instead of just being there for the ask, like, how could you be a part of the event in some way that, integrate? Like, I'll give you a good example. The town I live in, which, you've been to, Christmas is a big deal. Like, it's a little bit of like a Hallmark type town. Christmas is a big deal. Well, the local JCs are responsible for what they call like the greens, like the garland and the Christmas trees that they put up on every light pole and the big Christmas tree in the middle of the town square. And then the big night of like lighting the Christmas tree is called the lighting of the greens. And they have lights on all the, garland and all. And everybody knows that that's the JCs that do that. Like, it's just like lighting of the green. It's so everybody's posts from being down there. And when the Christmas tree gets lit, everybody tags the JCs, thanks the JCs. So that's a small example of how those guys have really embraced an event. And now, like, probably one of the biggest events of our town each year is like inextricably linked to the JCs in our town because of what they do for that.
Oh, that's a great example. And I think that kind of leads into what I wanted to kind of dig in today, was understanding great branding. And to me, the one that kind of jumps out, and I was hoping if you had other examples, if not, otherwise we can kind of dive in, is Red Bull. I was standing in line at South by Southwest before the small agency meetup, and one of the gentlemen I was talking to had actually worked with them for a while. And it was one of those things like he was just blown away being able to be inside the machine that kind of was doing different things, and he learned so much being there. And just on the outside, the way that I view it, I almost think of a Red Bull drink secondary to just anything that's kind of extreme, whether it's the Red Bull Flutog, where they fly the different things off of a thing into the water, or the train that goes down. Or I know I'm a big Max Verstappen fan, and the F1 racing, or whether it's extreme skiing or snowboarding, mountain biking.
Well, certainly they were the first. Other companies have tried to replicate it, but certainly Red Bull was the first.
They kind of took it this worldwide where you kind of just think of extreme. And so I think that's just something to think about, whether it's the way that you attach your branding to things. Like, I think they think of the drink maybe secondary as well. It's something that we sell, but we're kind of this extreme brand that you're going to need extra energy to do the stuff that we're doing. So this drink is a part of this lifestyle, which I think is something to
think about what you're saying. I think because it gets to the real core, I think, of marketing. I think people in general, can't say this anything universally, but people want to associate with brands that they, in some ways, are maybe not even who they are, but who they aspire to be. Does that a lot of times that might be a luxury item like a Ferrari or a Rolex watch or something of that nature. But Red Bull sold this lifestyle of extreme sports and active people and people that were doing super cool things, but they gave you the ability to enter that association for, what is it, $1.99 or $2.29 for a can. So I think what Red Bull has done is they've tied into something where a lot of marketing that really works well is people wanting to associate with something that maybe isn't even who they are, but who they might aspire to be, or who they in their mind wish that they were. Mm-hmm. Red Bull captured that because, who wouldn't want to feel like they were somehow connected to the same guy that was doing the extreme skiing or this or that or the other thing. So I think that where Red Bull, they just at the right time really caught on to that. And now there's energy drinks for, any name you can think of, and they're all out there, but Red Bull still stands apart. The other thing Red Bull did that a lot of people may not remember is they really got down grassroots and did a lot of guerrilla marketing. If you remember, there used to be cars, little, I don't know, Suzuki something with Red Bull cans like on the back of them. And they would take these things out to events, and they usually had girls that would have backpacks on that looked like Red Bull cans that had cold cans of Red. So they would go to a festival in Chicago that was in Grant Park or something like that. And these people would walk around and give people free Red Bulls all day. And I mean, so they weren't just doing the stuff that was Formula One racing and this acrobatic plane team and things like that. They were doing the grassroots thing, like being at an event like a festival at Grant Park and handing out free Red Bull. I mean, and they've continued because of that here decades later to continue to benefit from that brand association. I mean, even probably in ways they didn't imagine, like Red Bull and vodka took off as a drink at bars. And then they came out with the cranberry or the blueberry Red Bull or whatever it is. So that, people had a little bit different option. But my point is they expanded their market into now it became something where a bar was going through cases of Red Bull in a night. I'm sure that wasn't part of their plan, but it just sort of, they got in front of so many people that all of a sudden a Red Bull and vodka was a much more, a much more desirable drink than,
So
a soda and vodka or
yeah,
a cranberry and vodka or whatever the case may be.
yeah, and I had asked you before, and I've been craning my head as far as kind of other companies that did stuff similar, and it's like, to me, an easy one is just Nike with athletics, but the one that kind of sticks out because when I worked with them in the past was kind of Eddie Bauer, and they're like the extreme, not extreme sports, but more or less their clothing is going to keep you warm when you like go up into the mountains, was kind of their the thing that they were trying to push forward. And to me, it follows along that when I'm thinking like, you're not just thinking about what the clothing is used for versus like the views or just kind of the things that are going on that's attributed to being a part of that lifestyle. Again, it's a much easier match because it's clothing in a cold weather area versus like having that drink. So that's what I think makes Red Bull so unique, is just because it's something that a drink is associated with all these other things, which is just kind of nuts. And it makes us all kind of think like, how can we attach ourselves to different things that we maybe outside of just what we're working with, and how we can do different things and be associated with other ideas. Excuse me as I choke. Let me grab some water.
Yeah. No, I think that it all comes back, whether you're talking about a Super Bowl ad, Eddie Bauer back in the day, and now it seems like Eddie Bauer is making a little bit of a resurgence. You're seeing more of it again now, but back in the mid 90s, Eddie Bauer was like definitely a brand that was pretty popular. I mean, Ford even had a series of Explorers and Expeditions that were Eddie Bauer. That was like their top of the line version. But I think, again, how many of those people that bought Eddie Bauer Ford Explorers were really going to use it for maybe the outdoor, or did they just want associated with the Eddie Bauer edition because that was considered the premium edition, or maybe it evoked a certain picture of a lifestyle or something? Look at how many people wear North Face shirts or North Face jackets, and how many of them have really bought a piece of North Face gear that they really needed to use to do extreme camping or anything like that. So, I think that anytime from a marketing standpoint that you could tie into somebody's, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, because I think a lot of times beauty care products and things like that use it in a negative way to pull people in from that aspirational standpoint. But anything at time, I think you can have somebody feel like your brand is associated with something that they themselves would like to be associated with, or that they feel good about, or, that you're helping to sponsor the town, high school football team that's going to the state championship. It doesn't have to be that they're trying to aspire to be a mountain climber or an F1 racer or whatever. But a lot of times people just want to feel like that brand, I want to associate with that brand. That brand gets me. That brand is part of like who I want to feel like I'm associated with. So I think there's some magic there. If you could figure that out, I'm not saying it's easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But if you could figure it out, I think that, there's magic there, like I said. And with every company, it has to, but here's the thing I'll say, and I know I'm rambling on, but it's got to be true to who you are. You have to, like, if you're going to do something, it's got to be congruent with your brand. You can't like say, hey, this is like a cool trend or whatever, so I'm just going to jump on this, but it's not who you are as a brand at all. So if somebody comes into your store or shop or something like that, and they see you and how your company operates, it's like a disconnect between what they saw in the advertisement and what they're seeing in front of them. So it only works if it's true to who you are. It never works when you're just trying to basically put something on to. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, because you snuck in right where I was going to say. I think the way to get people to connect with what you're doing and for them to have a reason to follow you is because it's something. Show yourself doing things that you enjoy doing. So even if it's something where you may be tired of showing a picture of yourself doing window tint or whatever it might be. But if there is a cars and coffee or something that kind of shows you at different events that you might like, or I think there's different ways to show who you are and and I do these things, but it's like you can also show yourself at I know there's different racing events that might happen around at different small tracks or dirt tracks where guys are just going out and doing different stuff, and you just kind of want to be a part of that atmosphere. It's like it's finding those things and showing, hey, I can be a part of this. This might be something that's not completely associated with my brand or with what I'm selling, but this is me. My brand is going to go out here and I'm going to enjoy these dirt bike competitions. I'm going to do these different things that I want to be a part of. And hopefully whatever I can bring, whether it's if you're doing PPF or vinyl wraps, like you can do different things in those different atmospheres. So I think it's finding those niches where it's like, these are the things I enjoy. Get yourself out there, enjoy yourself, meet the people that are doing the things that you like as well. And then you're going to find more ways and more things that are going to kind of inspire you and show you. And hopefully you are comfortable enough to be on camera to show that. And then that's what people are going to kind of be attracted to, that are like, I want to follow this journey and see what he's going to do next. And I think that's
how you can, think of how you can give too. Like if you're a car person and you do paint protection film or you do window tint, there's a lot of different car clubs, like the Audi Club of America, Porsche Club of America, all these different clubs, BMW Car Club, where you could maybe reach out to them and say, hey, I'm willing to come to one of your monthly sessions and do a tech session on window tint or paint protection, and not try to overly sell yourself. Just say, I'll tell you the things you should look out for, the questions you should ask, the things you should consider. And it's not an advertisement for you. You're coming there and you're actually providing something of value. You're educating them. You're also becoming, to a certain group of people, a thought leader in the industry. When they think about paint protection film, they're going to think about you because you help to educate them about paint protection film. So, think of how you can give first versus thinking about how you're going to benefit. I think if you focus on ways you can give in a positive way, like not just give something that's not a value, but give something that's truly a value, and approach it that way. Like, I'm willing to do this, and I don't know if I'm going to get anything back out of it, and I'm still willing to do it. I think if you approach that and you do that, you will get benefits back out of it, but it's got to be genuine. You've got to go out there, but think about ways that you can give. And I think that a good example is, I'll come right back to the JCs, the example I used earlier. That is an event that everybody thinks is great and everybody wants to kind of be a part of. So make no mistake about it, a lot of the people in town join the JCs because they want to be associated with that event. They want to be part of the team that's helping to set up the greens and get the garland up and the trees up and everything like that, because they want to, when people know that they're in the JCs, feel like they were a part of bringing this once a year, holiday thing together. So again, you could look at that and like, why did the JCs? That's a lot of time, a lot of money. Like what? But it is inevitably, whether they would say it that way or not, an unbelievable marketing event for the JCs, because a lot of people want to join the JCs to be part of that.
Yeah,
so they might not think of it in a way that it's marketing, but what they've done is people say, man, this is really cool. Next year, I want to be part of the JCs so I could say that I was part of that.
No, absolutely. You made me think of, and I'm giving away more ideas. Hopefully one or two or somebody along the way will see these, doing those different car shows. To me, guys that are going to be there, guys that are going to want to keep their car pristine for as long as possible. And if you're somebody who understands like paint corrections or ceramic coatings and different things that are going to help preserve that car for longer, and you understand the tech side of it, I think if that's a way to go and just talk to people about that. You don't even have to pitch it, just explain it. Like you said, if you talk to whoever and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this, it's non-brand specific. I just want to explain this and maybe say who I am at the end, and that's about it. And then that way you're giving value. It's something that these guys can learn, whether it's they buy it or go somewhere and look for it on their own. It gives them an idea, and then you're in their head. And I think that's the key piece of this, is being able to be a part of their head or their thought process. And that goes back to the Super Bowl. The one thing I forgot to mention too was the reason that you get people to talk about it. That Apple ad was on the news the next day, and people were. That was the reason it kind of got viral. It was viral before viral was happening in '84, and so it's. If you can get people to talk about something that you said or an idea that you brought to them that they will share with their friends or family, I think then there's a better chance of them either looking you up on social media or online and checking out your business, and then maybe being a customer in the future. So I think those are all really good ways to kind of think about and try to push yourself to get out. I know that's sometimes the hardest part is getting out of the shop or getting out of the house on a weekend when you have worked 6 days a week and you want to get out. So it's sometimes finding those things that if you're going to go and have fun and enjoy and see cars that you like, I think that will help you get out on a day that your only day off to kind of go do something. So it's tricky to kind of find that energy to do these things too.
No, I think that, you have to, I mean, I think you will agree with this since you've been part of this show now for a year with me. Even things like this, it's like we want to provide good information. We want to be there to answer questions for people, things like that. But I got to tell you, like more Monday afternoons than not, I've got tons of stuff going on, and there's a lot of things I could be doing at this time versus being on Marketing Mondays. But we've made a commitment to do this week in and week out and really try to provide value. But my point is, there will always be a reason you can't do it. Yep. You have to make a commitment. You have to make a commitment to start doing it and figure out what that is and start doing it. There will always be 5 reasons why you can't do it. I mean, there will always be.
Especially for entrepreneurs. I think if you're, at least like me, if you're constantly thinking about different things and like you might feel unproductive even though you've done a bunch of different things. So it's finding that balance we've always talked about too. It's tricky, but we hope that you all kind of keep driving forward. And
here's the thing, don't let, the old saying, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but, don't let perfect be the enemy of progress. I think sometimes people think they have to have the right camera, they have to have the right mic, they have to have this, they have to have that. Yep. And they never get out of the starting gate because they feel like it's got to be perfect in order to do it, or they put themselves on camera and they don't like the way they sound, or they don't like the way they look. So they decide, okay, I can't do it, like, or whatever. And that stops them because it's like it's not perfect. So therefore they don't move forward and make any progress. Don't let perfect be the enemy of progress. Just start moving in the direction you want to move in, and you'll probably get better on camera. You'll probably get better at talking. Whatever you're going to try to do, you will get better. But if you wait until you're going to be able to produce something perfect, you are never going to get started. You're never going to get started. So you just have to decide, I'm going to move forward in this direction, whatever that direction is you chose, and begin moving forward in that direction, and then make adjustments on the way. Nobody said that, the first issue you do, or the first episode you do, or the first Cars and Coffee you do a tech session at is going to be perfect. I, in fact, will guarantee you that it will not be perfect at all. But I guarantee you, if you think about it and you try, your second one will be better than your first one, and your 5th one will be better than your 4th one, and your 10th one will be better than your 9th one. You just have to get out there and start doing it. And your 10th one will be 1,000 times better than your first one. Yep. But if you never get started, you're never going to get out of the gate. And I think that's the thing. I think I see more people fail because they just fail to launch. They fail to get started.
It's okay that it's understanding your first one's going to be terrible. Like that's your baseline. You're going to get better from there. And that's just kind of how things are with everything, whether it's different things that you're learning. I'm sure whatever skill, if you were an entrepreneur, whatever skill that you did, it took time to kind of figure out, get rid of those fingers on this window, or kind of there's different things. There's a progress that you have to kind of give yourself with all of these different things. So,
and I think if you thought back like using like a window tinner, like you were saying, if you thought back at the cars you were sending out the door that you were charging people for the first year you were in business versus the quality of what you're doing today, you would be like, I can't even believe I sent stuff like that out the door.
Yeah.
Like, but now you're way back. Like, but the point is, you would have never got to here if you didn't start somewhere. And I just feel like whatever it is, thinking about what could be that viral thing or what that Red Bull thing or Super Bowl thing could be for you. Sometimes people get overwhelmed with just the enormity of what do I have to do to get started? Do I need this? Do I need that? I don't have any good ideas about what my Super Bowl thing could be. I mean, you create a narrative in your head that something's too big or it's outside of your realm of expertise, or you can't, it's a little bit overwhelming in general to get started. And as a result, you just recede and you don't get started. And what I'm trying to encourage you to do is whatever that thing is, push through that resistance, push through that difficulty, because you will start to feel better. You will start to get more comfortable, but you have to what's the old saying, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when you do, I think you'll find that, it's not as bad as you probably have made it up in your head. And again, it sounds, I don't want to continue to repeat myself, but I do see so many people that just fail to get out of the gate. They have 1,000 good ideas. They implement none of them.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I think it's a good place to stop. We're just over a half hour. I did have to make sure I give a shout out to the ladies and gentlemen over at Tint Wiz. Thank you for sending this out. I was joking last week about how much I like Patric's, and I get one in the mail, thankfully, like an hour before the show too. So that was perfect timing.
Nice.
Guys, I really appreciate it.
Hey, if you guys aren't, and this is no advertisement because it's not like Marketing Mondays isn't brought to you by Tint Wiz or anything like that. But I just want to say, Eric, the whole team there, Cadeau, everybody, David, everybody that's affiliated with Tint Wiz is in it to help you. And if you haven't taken a serious look at Tint Wiz and just ask the right questions, I think you're missing out. And this is not a commercial for Tint Wiz. I'm not trying to be a shill for Eric and the team, but the people that support our industry, you should take a hard look at like how you can potentially support them. And that's a great example. They listened to the podcast, heard you say you'd love to have one of the hats. Next thing you know, you've got one. They actually sent me this hat back in the day when I was shooting the podcast. It's just a cup of coffee. And I was wearing that today too. So, we're both wearing a lid that was sent to us by Eric and the team at Tint Wiz. So anyway, again, no commercial for Tint Wiz, but I would encourage you to support people that are doing good things for our industry. And Eric is one of them. And I want to say one more thing on this episode on a little bit of a somber note. Carol Lockwood, who a lot of you people in the industry know, unbelievable, great lady. She's been fighting valiantly, cancer for the last year. And she, and sadly she passed away yesterday. And I just want to take a moment to say, I'm praying for Carol and Carol's family during this time. And it's just a sad day for the industry to lose somebody that was so well loved by people in the industry. So with that, rest in peace, Carol Lockwood. We're going to miss you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we will hopefully see you guys next week. And we appreciate you guys watching. I know there was quite a few of you that were here. So we definitely appreciate you guys watching live as well as the after show, and any comments and questions that you guys post. We really appreciate it. And we will make sure that we use any of your questions in future episodes. So leave us a line if you do have a marketing question. We'd love to get it.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.